Our next speaker. Are you guys ready? All right. So our next speaker is Dupé Aleru. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Okay, because I'm telling you, girl, all the letters, I be getting stuff backwards. For the past decade, Dupé has combined her passion for education and content creation towards a life dedicated to being a serial entrepreneur. Well, come on. In 2010, after being laid off 5 times within a 5-year period, Lord have mercy, that's a lot. She launched her first business, Tutors for Tots, Tweens, and Teens, a K-12 tutoring company. She joined the Periscope, oh Lord Jesus, Periscope, come on, work with me, Lord. And shortly after, and helped create a personal brand as a 4-time self-published author, keynote speaker, curriculum developer, and business coach. I'm telling you, these speakers making me feel like I don't do enough. Okay? Dupé is now recognized as a leading authority for curriculum and course development, working with school districts, government agencies, and entrepreneurs all across industries. You guys, please help me put a Celebrating Sisters round of applause together for our wonderful speaker, Miss Dupé Aleru. I got it wrong. Come on up, girl.
Amazing, right? And I want to take this time to really thank Verda and Jessica for putting on the event. I was at a conference, BBWR, in November, and I met Verda, and she called me maybe 2 weeks later, and she said, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw an event, and I want you to be the speaker. And so here we are, not even a year later. So let's give her a round of applause for throwing this amazing event. So I want to give you guys a little bit of context about who I am. My name is Dupé Aleru. It's okay, Shelly. Still love you. And like she mentioned, I'm a serial entrepreneur. But in a nutshell, I like to consider myself as an educator. I started in the classroom, and then I transitioned to entrepreneurship. So today, this is very important that you guys hear me. I'm not here to motivate you. On social media, I'm known as a social media influencer, motivational speaker. I'm really not here to motivate you because sometimes motivation is current, right? Then we walk out the door and then it kind of disappears. I'm really here to inform you, but more importantly, to inspire you to take action. To really take action. Can we get the screen back on, you guys, before I get started though? Oh, is that on? Okay, perfect. For you guys to really take action, because what I've learned through my experiences in my life is that life is short. And it's very foolish that we live as if tomorrow is promised, right? And even, one of my friends, closest friends, she just lost her mom yesterday, and it gave me another kind of push, like, listen, I can't wait till tomorrow, I can't wait till next week, I gotta start today, okay? And so if you're ready and willing today to make an internal mind shift, here's the first step that I want you guys to take. So this is going to be very educational. So I really want you guys to grab the notepads that was given to you guys and the pens, because I really want you guys to take notes, okay? So if you're ready and willing today to make an internal mind shift, here's the first step that you must take. You must learn to embrace challenges as they come, so that you can thrive in adverse conditions and find greater fulfillment in life while experiencing change. Now, I know this is not a new concept. There's a historian by the name of Herodotus, and he once said that adversity has the effect of drawing out strength and qualities of a man that would have lain dormant in his absence. So you're probably asking yourself, well, what does this mean? Well, whether we like it or not, adversity is alive in our daily experiences, and it can strike when we least expect it to. And what I've learned from my own experience is that it's not so much about how to overcome adversity, but rather how to embrace adversity, so that we can open ourselves to possibilities and build character along with other values to us. But of course, when adversity occurs, it is human nature that we want to do what? Dwell in self-pity. But when we do, we fail to recognize all the opportunities that were laid in our path for our advancement. You see, every struggle, every challenge or difficulty that we can successfully confront in our lives serves to not only strengthen our confidence, but also our ability to tackle future obstacles. See, when we respond positively and objectively to challenges, we then place ourselves in position to experience change in varying degrees, such as tapping into our own willpower and creativity. Now, in order to succeed, ladies, there are certain mindsets that we must have. And these mindsets are the attitudes and core beliefs that create the essence of who we truly are. So in terms of your own mindset, you can either be two things, okay? Number one, you can be a victim, right? Or you can be a victor. See, a victim is someone who blames everyone and everything but himself. But a victor takes responsibility for his or her own life. Growing up as a child, I was fearless and competitive when it came to doing the things that I wanted to do. And I would literally embrace challenges, especially if it had to do with sports. See, everything other than school came easy for me. And as a child, my parents, they would always tell me that I was lucky. See, I remember the times when my family would take vacations. We would go to Disneyland, the lake or park or Magic Mountain. And out of all my siblings, I was the one to win a prize or receive something from a complete stranger. So then I started to use my luck and try everything that I could. Cheerleading, soccer, gymnastics, piano, the list goes on and on. And I was great at all of it too. So my parents started calling me chameleon because I would switch around and just try everything. But because of that luck, I automatically assumed that I would naturally succeed in life. I would not have to endure some of the hardships that I witnessed my friends dealing with, until a sudden medical condition humbled me at the age of 26. See, about 10 years ago, I came close to dying due to a life-threatening condition. And that adversity drew out strength and qualities that I never knew existed in me. And though I was blessed to have survived that situation, I don't think that I truly appreciated the process until I started to see myself as a much stronger and self-aware individual. You see, sometimes in life, we have to go through challenging circumstances before we are able to become the person that we are meant to be. Can we agree? Yes. Bringing it back to teaching point number one, I need you to understand that we must embrace the challenges as they come so that we can thrive in adverse condition and find greater fulfillment in life while experiencing change. What I can say now is this. If I had the chance to go back in time and change my situation, I wouldn't. I truly believe that if I had not experienced that level of pain and discomfort, I would not be the woman standing in front of you today. You see, I started to look at life differently. I started to appreciate those closest to me, but most importantly, I started to have faith in God and what He had planned for my life. See, it was never about the pain for me. What I need you guys to understand that what I took out of the experience was the challenge to fight through something that was trying to hold me back from reaching my purpose. And that challenge to overcome my illness is what saved my life. Because in turn, I had to become a different person in the process. If you look at everybody in society who has made a tremendous impact in society, they reached that inviolable level of success because they had to overcome challenges along the way. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's never been about that person's success that stood out to me. But I've always looked at people like Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, the list goes on and on. It's about who that person had to become in order to reach that level of success. I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to look at the word challenge, and let me know what you see. What do you see? What word do you see in the word challenge? If you're looking closely, you will notice the word change. Think about that. You can only experience change after you embrace the challenge. If you came to this luncheon today with the hopes of starting to experience change in your life, by embracing your challenges rather than avoiding them, speaking with you today, I want to share with you my story. But most importantly, I want to share with you 7 truths that shifted the trajectory of my life and can do the same for you. Now, the reason why I know you can do it is because I did it, and I'm just like you. So I really want you to do this. I want you to grab the notepad that Verda and Jessica was so kind enough to give us today. And I want you to grab your pen. Because what you're going to do is you're going to write down these 7 truths that I'm going to go over. And you're going to make some correlation between these truths and any adversity that you have experienced or may experience in the future. Can we agree that we're going to do that? Write down these 7 truths? Yes? You with me? Let me hear you. Are you with me?
Yes.
Awesome. Truth number 1, life requires sacrifice. Repeat after me. Life requires sacrifice. Y'all have to do better than that. Life requires sacrifice.
Life requires sacrifice.
There you go. My dad made one of the greatest sacrifices of his life. He left Nigeria in 1964 with the help of missionary to attend college in South Dakota. And my mom happened to live in Nigeria at that time, and she just happened to be best friends with my dad's sister. So you guys kind of know where this story is going, right? My dad goes home from one of his breaks and he meets my mom. They literally dated. This is what the story my parents told me. They dated for 3 weeks before they got married, right? And then my dad helps my mom come to the United States in 1979, and they've been married now for 39 years. So, just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you were raised by immigrant parents. Raise your hand.
By your what?
Immigrant parents. You have immigrant parents. Okay, just a few of you guys. So you guys understand my pain then. And I say that jokingly, but in all seriousness, my life in many ways was much different than the lives of my friends who had American-born parents, because the sacrifices that my parents made in order for my siblings and I to live the American dream, right? That sacrifice was a lot higher. And so here's what I want you guys to understand, is that, you know, actually, there's a quote. This is a good quote. It says, the most important decision about your goals is not what you're willing to do to achieve them, but what you're willing to give up. Do you understand that? Like, everything in life will require some sacrifice. See, so many times we spend our time dreaming, and I do this too, wishing, hoping, wanting, and less time taking action. And then sometimes when we do take action, because we live in such a microwave society right now where everybody wants everything to happen quickly, quick fix, right? And if things don't happen immediately, we don't get that immediate gratification, what do? We give up, we quit. And then we wonder why we have not reached the level of success that we want in our life, in our business, in our finances. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to ask yourself these 3 questions. It's very important. I know it sounds so easy, right? It's so simple, but trust me, as a business coach and life coach, I coach many women who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who do not understand what they want out of life. And so the first question you must ask yourself is, what do I want? What do you want? Not what does my children want, not what does my husband want, not what does my employer want. What do I want? Okay? And once you're able to figure out what it is that you want, the second question you must ask yourself is, what am I willing to sacrifice in order to get the thing that I want most? Because everything in life will require a level of sacrifice. And once you understand that, it will help you, push you towards your goals, right? And the third question is, what are the action steps that I must take each and every day in order to reach my goals? Because you must take action. Now, I just want to see a show of hands. Raise your hand if you actually set quarterly goals. Do you actually write down your goals? Great. How about monthly goals? How about weekly goals? Awesome. Daily goals. The reason why I'm asking this is because it's one thing to have goals, and it's an entirely different thing to write them down. There was actually a study done by the Dominican University of California, and the study showed that those who wrote down their goals were 42% more likely to achieve them than those who did not write down their goals. So if you're in that point in your life right now where you're like, man, things are just not working for me, are you writing down your goals? Right? You have to ask yourself these questions, okay? So if we can start writing down our goals, if we can start being intentional with what we want, we will be that much closer towards achieving the things that we want in life. Truth number 2, you guys, life is about recognizing and accepting your limitations. Now, that doesn't mean we all walk around depressed, okay? I don't want everybody walking around sad, because guess what? We all have limitations. It's about self-awareness. It's about self-awareness, understanding what your strengths are. As a child, I understood right away that I had many limitations. Growing up, I was a DF student, okay? And I did this a lot, talk. You guys can't really see it, but at the very bottom where it has the arrow, it says excessive talking. This is my 2nd grade report card, you guys. I talked all the time in class. I was constantly getting in trouble. And my sister, who was a year older than me, she was a straight A student. She was like the golden child, all right? And so what would happen would be, because we're a year apart, her name was Lola, she would move on to the next grade, right? And I would literally get the teacher that she had the previous year. And some of those teachers would say the same thing. Dupé, why can't you be more like your sister? And little did they know that that caused pain inside of me to be compared to my sister because I was completely different, right? And so luckily for me, 20 plus years later, I become a, what? Teacher. And the one thing that I used to get in trouble for, speaking, is now what I do for a living. Right? So in that respect, some of those teachers were wrong about me, right? And so what I made a promise to myself is that when I become a teacher, I would never willfully mistreat a student in my classroom. Because those misbehaving students, I was once one of them. Yeah. And I understand that that can be you now, and you can be a entirely different person tomorrow. Correct? And so here's what I need you guys to understand. Number one, never allow labels and titles to define who you are. Some of you are allowing your past to define who you are today, and I'm here to tell you that your past does not define you. It prepares you for the future. Okay? So raise your hand if you've ever said or done something that you regretted. Come on, we've all have. Everybody's hand should be up right now. We've all said or done something that we've regretted, and guess what? Disappointment, hear me now, disappointment is necessary to achieve the greatest amount of success. And your success will be determined by how you handle the disappointment along the way. You get what I'm saying? And so the second thing is, the only person who can tell you who you can or cannot become is yourself. I'm tired of talking to people, they're saying, well, I can't do that, because so-and-so said this. Listen, your purpose is meant for yours and God's understanding only. We need to stop telling everybody what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, and just do it. Just do it. And guess what? Trust me when I say this. People will come along once you start living in your purpose. Because they'll start saying, oh, man, she wasn't playing around, was she? And everyone starts getting on board then, right? But that's the thing. Let your success do the talking for you. You don't got to explain yourself to anybody. All right? This leads me to my next truth, you guys. Truth number 3, life is not what's thrown at you, but how you respond to it. Right? It's not about what's thrown at you, it's about how you respond to it. You guys, in 3rd grade, I always remember my 3rd grade teacher because we didn't get along. I just was too much for her. I was too much for her, let me tell you. And I remember one day the bell rang, and she handed me an envelope, and she said, Dupé, give this to your parents. Have them sign it and bring it back to me tomorrow. And it was a progress report. And you already saw my report card. It said some talking. Do you guys remember like pulling cards when you guys were in elementary school? I was always the one pulling the black card, which was like the worst card you could pull. And all the kids would be like, ooh, like all the time. Like that was an everyday thing. And so naturally, I was scared to show my mom my report card. So I ended up doing the unthinkable. I forged my parents' signature. And I remember, I hear everybody humming because, yeah. I remember my mom coming home from a parent-teacher conference in tears. And I remember thinking like, wow, I really messed up. But she didn't even spank me, she didn't ground me, she didn't even yell at me. She looked at me and she said, Dupé, I'm not angry at you, I'm disappointed because your dad and I raised you better. And in that moment, I wish I can stand here today and tell you guys that I started to transform and morph into the person I was supposed to be. Nah, I was a hot mess for another 8-9 years, okay? Like I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys that. But what I can tell you is that I understood some things. My actions affected other people, right? And so life, ladies and gentlemen, has a way of testing your character. It really does. And so the next time that your character is being tested, I want you to remember these 3 things. Number 1, think before you act by considering the consequences. See, everything that we do in life has consequences. It either affects us, it affects those closest to us, or even people we don't know. Here's an example. Some of you guys sitting here today, you have said that you're going to write that book that you haven't written. You have said that you're going to leave that job that you're no longer happy in to start your business, and you have not done that. You have said that you're going to leave that toxic relationship, and you have not done that. And guess what? There's someone out there who has yet to step fully into their purpose because they're waiting on your book. They're waiting on your products and services. Your soulmate is out there waiting for you, but you have to trust the process and leave that unhealthy relationship, right? And number 2 is understand that it's not about blame or excuses. Too often, we spend so much of our energy blaming everyone and everything for our mistakes and where we are in life. Y'all, Donald Trump is not, he's not, responsible for everything that happened in your life that's bad, right? Your parents are not responsible for everything that happened in your life that's bad. I'm sorry, your employer, so on and so forth. When are we going to look in the mirror and just take full responsibility? Because I know the day I took full responsibility for where I was at, that was the day I started to excel and progress in my life. Okay? Start taking full responsibility for the things that happen. And number 3, find a purpose that is greater than yourself. Because when you find a purpose that is greater than yourself, you will never allow anyone or anything to get you out of character. I see too often people on social media acting a straight fool. For what? Figure happy. Just show them. It's ridiculous. And I always think, man, I don't think they have a purpose greater than themselves. Because there's a difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is impulsive. A response is thought through, it's calculated. And I never allow anybody to get me out of that because I think about what my purpose is. My purpose is my legacy. What can I pass down from generation to generation? How will I be remembered when I'm no longer here? That always holds trump to anything that anyone says or does to me. And we have to be able to understand that. And I like to say, protect your peace and your position, right? Stand firm in who you are and what you want, how you want people to remember you. Truth number 4, you guys, life will require your A game. But not just when you think it benefits you. Now, this is one of my favorite stories. You guys, so in elementary school, I was a hot mess. By the time I got into middle school, I was still a hot mess, but I started to get a little bit better. And that was because I found a love for sports, track and field to be exact. And so, do you guys remember the turkey trot races? Like when we used to run those? Did anyone run the turkey trot races? Is it just me? Okay, so there were races we ran around Thanksgiving, and the first prize winner won a big turkey. Well, I won every year. All right, the kids hated to run against me. Like, why do we have to run? We already know she's gonna win. Like, why do you have to run? Like, they hated it. And I would win every single year, and that's when I realized, wow, I'm very great at running. And so having a purpose at that age, my dream was to be in the Olympics. And so that really kept me out of trouble because I was so focused on training and being in the Olympics. And so by the time I got into high school, there was a lot of hype, around Lola's little sister Stash. She's coming in. Like, I was getting scouted. Even one of my high school trainers was actually Olympic gold medalist trainers. And so there's a lot of pressure, but during track practices, I was extremely cocky. I'm not gonna lie. I was extremely cocky, and that got the best of me because I was looking at the situation like, I'm already the fastest. Like, why do I have to work hard? Like, y'all the ones who are slow, like, you just step up your game, Yeah, that didn't work in my favor. My track coach ended up placing me on the B relay team, which is the slow team, okay? And I will always remember the season opener. I ran the 4x1, the 4x4, the open 100, the 200. I ran a lot, right? I did the long jump, triple jump, I did it all. And I remember the 4x1 relay race. There's 8 lanes, right? 8 people in a race. And I remember the announcer, runners take your mark. Set, go. And I look and I can see our first place runner, she's in dead last. And literally the adrenaline is just rushing through my body because I'm a super competitive person, you guys. And literally she's in dead last. And the moment she hit my mark, and I literally took off, and I heard stick, I took off like a lightning bolt. And I passed every single person in front of me. And the crowd goes nuts. Like, I will always remember that race because it was the best feeling that I've ever experienced, right? Like, everyone standing up and cheering because I literally, snatched, 7 runners in front of me before I handed it to the 3rd lane. And the 3rd handed to the anchor, and the anchor drove home. This is not the race, though, you guys. This is not the race. This is me and Becky. And the anchor drove it home. And as we're celebrating our win, I look in the distance, and I see my track coach approaching. And you know those movies, it's so corny, you guys, but you know the movies when 2 people are, slow-mo, running towards each other, and they, embrace and swing each other around? Yeah, that didn't happen. He said he was disappointed in me. And I'm like, what do you mean? I just won. He said he was disappointed because he now knew that I wasn't bringing my A game. I showed up for the track meet, but I didn't show up during practice. They didn't even know I was that fast. They're like, where did she come from? See, one thing that I learned from that experience is that if I do my best at all times, not only will I set the standards for myself, but I will also give other people the opportunity to set my standards upon their life. You get what I'm saying? And so the next time you're challenged to do your best, I want you to think about these things. Number 1, you should always think about others, even when you think no one can be affected by your actions. We have this melodrama in our head that always says, nobody's watching. Nobody's paying attention. I'm here to tell you, trust me, people are always watching and paying attention. They might not like your post on social media, they might not comment or share or text you or call you. They're paying attention, especially your haters, okay? They know more about you than you know about yourself, let me tell you, okay? They're paying attention. And so we need to stop saying that to ourselves, right? Because character is defined by what we do even when nobody's watching. You don't need confirmation. You need to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, right? Okay? And number 2 is the moments that you don't feel like doing something, do it anyways. Procrastination, ladies, is the thief of time. It robs you of the life that you could be living. Okay? So stop, placing your dreams on hold and truly start to take action today. And number 3 is people will always hold you at the standards you set for yourself. One of the greatest quotes is from Tony Robbins. He says, if you want to increase the quality of your life, you must raise your standards. If you are not happy in any area of your life right now, today, you must raise your standards. It's the standards that you set for yourself. I know for a fact because, I'm going to mispronounce her name, Nada, right? Nada. She talked about perfectionism. I went from at risk as a child to overachiever. And I started to become a perfectionist because as a child, I was ignored, not by my parents, but I was always that talkative kid, kind of that bad kid. And so once I started to get acknowledged for my achievements, it became an obsessive quality that I had. I just always wanted to do well, right? And so for me, it's like when people would hold me at the standards, I'm like, man, they expect so much. Gosh, why do you want me to do all this? It's because that's the standards I set for myself. People will mirror what you show them. So if you set low standards for yourself and people have low expectations of you, guess what? They're going to hold you to that, right? So you must raise your standards if you want people to hold you at a higher level and a higher standard. Can we agree?
Yes.
All right. So you guys, truth number 5, life is full of advice. You don't need to follow it all, but you must consider it all. Okay? You guys, by this time, you guys, in 2003, I ended up graduating from Cal State Long Beach with my bachelor's degree in sociology. I was 21 years old. My parents paid for my sister and I to go to college out of their pocket. They made pretty decent money, so we didn't get financial aid. So I'm telling you, the moment I stepped off that stage, I was cut off. I had to get a job. And so my first job was working as a child care site director at the YMCA. Shout out to Spencer, he's one of my good friends and photographer. Yes, give him a round of applause, you guys. We've been friends for over 17 years, and he actually worked with me at the YMCA. I was his boss. But no, we worked at the YMCA, and after 2 years of working, I realized, you know what, I really want to become a teacher because I was working with kids, so I went back and got my teacher credential. And I finished my credentialing program in a year and a half, and when I finished my credentialing program, the thing about it was the districts were now on freeze. They weren't even hiring any teachers. This is back in 2006. So what I ended up doing was I ended up substitute teaching for about 3 weeks. I gained the attention of one of the principals at an elementary school, and she approached me. She says, hey, I really like what you do. I actually have an opening for a 2nd grade teacher, and I would like for you to interview. Now, we've all been to those interviews where we know we just nailed it, right? Like, you just nailed it. Like, I knew I got that job. And when I have any exciting news in my life, first 2 people I call, my sister and my mom. And I called my mom, and I was super excited. Like, Mom, guess what? I just landed my first teaching job, and I was 26 years old. I was super excited. And you know how parents are. They're going to ask you the right questions. They're like, skip all that fluff. Does it have medical benefits? And my answer was no, it didn't. Because what would happen was the school districts were hiring us as long-term substitute teachers, meaning we would get a teaching job, however, it didn't come with any benefits. So we would get paid a teacher's salary, but it was no benefits that came with them. And so my mom is a nurse. So naturally she was like, you need to get individual health insurance. Now, just a little bit of context, you guys, I was never, ever sick as a child. Like, hardly ever. I got perfect attendance, elementary, middle school. Even on senior ditch day, I was at school, okay? I really loved to, socialize and be at school. So I'm telling my mom, it's the first time that I was making my own money. I was not trying to spend $300 a month paying for something that I thought that I would never need. And she was like, you know what? You're a grown adult. You're going to make your own decisions. And I didn't understand what the big deal was until it became a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, in life, there's a lot of advice we get. Unsolicited advice people tell us that we're like, did I ask you? Like, I didn't even ask you for that advice, right? And then we seek advice. But here's something that I learned, you guys. All advice is worth considering because there's always nuggets of truth with the advice someone gives you. So this is when you ask for advice and you're like, oh, thank you so much. This is what I needed. And you take action and your life completely changes. And there's other times when you're like, okay, thank you. You put it in your back pocket because you might need it in a week or a month or a year. And other times it doesn't apply to your life. But you store it up here because you never know who else can use that advice, right? And so I ended up getting the job, you guys, as a teacher. And I worked that, and it wasn't even a year later. Like, I worked that year. But I would soon find out why my mom was so adamant, unfortunately, about me getting health insurance. And this leads me to my sixth truth, you guys. Truth number 6, life isn't easy. It's not meant to be, but there's always a way. There's always a way. And so I worked that first year as a teacher. I was laid off. They brought me back the next year. I still taught 2nd grade, okay? And during the end of my 2nd grade year, I started to go through burnout. I was exhausted. So when you get your teacher credentialing, when you're in the credentialing program, they show you this graph, and the graph goes like this, goes up. Because the first year, everybody's excited, right? You get to decorate your classroom, like you're super excited to be a teacher. And then it starts to level off your 2nd year, and it literally dips down before it goes back up your 3rd year. That's because year 2 is when most teachers go through burnout. So this was the spring of my 2nd year. I was going through burnouts, and I was like, what's going on? And during that time, I was dealing with some health challenges as well. And so I went to see many doctors, and they told me the same thing, like, you're fine, I think you're just exhausted. Like, take a vacation, just rest up. So my boyfriend of 2 months and I, we decided to go to Vegas. Like, that was my new place. One of my good girlfriends is here, Kaylee. Give her a round of applause, you guys, because that's my girl. Actually, my very first time in Vegas was when I was 26 years old. And it was me and like 7 other people. She was with me. And so at this time, this is the 2nd year. So I'm like, okay, Vegas is my new spot. Like, let's go. So my boyfriend of 2 months and I, we went to Vegas. And we weren't even there for 24 hours. Something was wrong. I was like, I have to go home. And he's like, okay, baby, yeah, let's go back to the hotel. I was like, no, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. We have to go home, like back to Long Beach. And during that time, I haven't met his parents. We had a whole weekend planned to meet his parents and do all of that stuff. We had to cancel everything. And so we ended up driving back home in the middle of the night. We got home late, and of course, like I told you guys before, I called my sister and my mom for everything. I called my sister and I was like, sis, I don't know what's wrong, but I felt completely like drained, just weird. And my sister's telling me, you guys, this is the worst advice she's ever given me. Shout out to my sister, I love you. She's helped me get into university, she's helped me land jobs, but this was the worst advice she's ever given me. She said, Dupé, just take NyQuil and go to bed. And, you know, medicine doesn't work for everything, y'all, come on. And so literally it enhanced my symptoms that I was feeling. I ended up going to bed, and I woke up in the middle of the night, probably 1 or 2 in the morning, and the best way to describe it was I felt outside of my body. My entire left side of my body, everything felt tingly and numb. I couldn't see, I was very dizzy, and I woke up my boyfriend, I said, literally verbatim, call my parents and tell them that I love them, I think I'm dying. And at that point, he was a Marine back then, so they're trained to be calm and cool. He was too calm for my liking, like, I'm telling you, I'm dying. Like, do something, you know what I'm saying? And he wasn't doing anything. And at that point, I'm thinking, like, if this is my time, like, I'm just gonna have to go out like this, because I don't have energy to argue. So I ended up going to bed. I'm telling you guys this. I'm writing a book about this, actually. But anyways, I ended up going to bed, and by the grace of God, I woke up that morning. It was 6 a.m., and as I opened my eyes, I looked to my left. He's literally propped up in bed, looking at me, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, why are you staring at me? He's like, are you kidding me? You scared the daylight out of me last night. I literally stayed up all night watching your heart go up and down, making sure you're breathing. And how do I put this? I was very naive or just stupid back then, okay? You would think with going through all of that, I would get up and go to the doctor. Well, because we were supposed to go to the outlets in Vegas, I was like, well, since we missed the outlets, can we go shopping? And he's like, yeah, let's get up and go shopping. So as I'm getting ready to go shopping, my sister, she was the one with the brains, to call me and check up on me. She was like, hey, how are you feeling? I was like, oh, well, we're going shopping. And she was like, are you insane? You need to go to urgent care. And I was like, well, I don't have medical benefits. Remember? I ended up getting health insurance. And so she was like, you're gonna go shopping and spend money, but you're not willing to like go and pay some money to like, you know, she's like, you're crazy. So when my sister says do something, you just do it. So I ended up going to the urgent care. And the physician that did my exam, by the end of my exam, she felt very frazzled and just, I knew something was wrong. She picked up the phone and I heard my name and I also heard my date of birth, and I immediately was like, what's going on? And she looked at me, she says, Dupé, your boyfriend's either gonna have to drive you to the ER or we're gonna have to call you an ambulance. And I asked her, like, well, what's going on? And the only thing she can say was, your hemoglobin is very low. And I'm like, my hemo what? Like, I didn't even know what that was, nor did I have enough time to Google it, because she was like, you gotta go. And we went to my car, and it's crazy, because my boyfriend didn't even know how to drive a 6 shift. I had a 6 shift. And luckily the hospital was 2 blocks away. He gets in his car, and we go in the hospital. And you know how the ER doors kind of open and close, like that? We literally took a few steps in, and they were like, Dupé Aleru? And I was like, yes, and they had a wheelchair ready, and I broke down. Because I've been to the ER so many times, y'all, and they did not move that fast. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that they were waiting for me, I was like, oh yes, I'm dying. Like something bad has to be happening right now. And so I get in a room, and the doctors and everybody just seemed frantic. Everyone just seemed running around frantic. And that made me even more scared as well. And so during that time, they're asking me all these questions, and a nurse sits by the right side of me, and she says, ma'am, I need you to sign these papers. And I'm like, well, what's this? Because we just don't sign. Who just signs anything that someone tells you to sign? Come on. We don't just sign anything. And she said, this is a consent form for a blood transfusion. And I was like, oh no, not me. Not me. Like that just, ugh. Like I was just like, I don't want no one else's blood. Like that's gross. And in hindsight, like it was dumb of me to ask this question. But now it's kind of, I can laugh about it. But in that moment, I turned to her and asked her, well, what are my options? As I'm laying on my deathbed. And she turned to me and she said, you either sign these papers or you die. And shortly after that, I had an exam and I was diagnosed with benign uterine fibroid tumors. Now, it's not uncommon, okay? 75% of women have them, every 3 and 4 women have them. However, my case was very extreme. And so I ended up going back to teaching, but the next 6, 7, 8, 9 months, horrible. Didn't have any medical insurance, couldn't have my surgery. I would apply for Anthem, Blue Cross, Kaiser, Blue Shield, decline. Because now I already had a pre-existing problem. This was back in 2007, 2008, when it wasn't mandatory to have health insurance, right? Thank you, Obama. You feel me? And so I had to suffer. And so because of this, I could no longer fulfill my duties as a teacher. I had to resign. Well, let me be truthful, okay? I actually got a notice that they were going to lay me off, the school district. But I resigned from the layoff, okay? I got the last word. Let me just tell you that. So I was put on bed rest for like 2 months. And I would have friends coming and going, visiting me, bringing me food. But I hit rock bottom. At 26 years old, I'm like, why is this even happening to me? And I grew up as a Christian, going to church every single Sunday. But I started to lose my faith. My faith was slipping away. God, why me? Don't we always ask that when we're going through something? Why me? Why not you? Because if it's not you, who else can it be? Right? God only gives us things that we can handle. I know for a fact my story and what I've been through, a lot of my friends can handle it. But I see certain things that happen in their lives where I'm like, I don't know if I could have handled that. You get what I'm saying? We're given what we can handle. And so I remember just blaming God for everything, and I lost my faith. I did. And one day I realized being depressed, blaming, is not getting me anywhere. So I found myself on my hands and knees begging and asking God for forgiveness. And in that moment, I prayed, and I remember saying a lot of prayers, but there's one thing that I will always stick to this day. I said, God, whatever happens to me in life, I will forever trust that you know what you're doing. I will never doubt you. And I've kept my word. And I also told him that I'm going to live fully within my potential. I kid you not even a week later, you guys, I got a call from a hospital in Central California, the hospital that my mom worked at as an OBGYN nurse. And that surgeon called me and said, Dupé, come up here in December, we're going to have the surgery. And I was like, thank you, God. Because he was not going to sit back and just watch me die. My mom works for him. She's an RN nurse for him. And so in December 2008, I had my first myomectomy, and I remember waking up, and it was like in the movies, like a light shining in my face, like my surgeon's headlights, and nurses all the way around. And they're showing me all these pictures because they removed 17 tumors from my body. And it was one of the worst cases that surgeon has seen. And right after that, you guys, I was victorious. Remember, I told you, you can be two things. You can be a victim or you can be a victor, right? And so I was victorious. I was extremely happy that I had survived that situation. Don't do this. I'm not recommending you guys do this, but 5 days later, with literally 20 staples in my stomach, I drive myself to my post-op appointment. My dad was so mad, y'all. He followed behind me. He was like, this woman, like, you know. But I was victorious. I was just so happy to be alive. And if that wasn't good enough, because I was like, that's all I needed. I was alive. I was well. A month later, that hospital called me and told me that they covered the $90,000 medical bill. $90,000. And I was like, I'm going to forever trust you, God. I'm going to forever trust you. And so I know two things for certain. Number one, if I had not gone on my hands and knees that day and asked God for forgiveness, I don't think that I would have had the surgery when it happened. And number two, if my mom wasn't the most caring and loving person that she is, I don't think the hospital and that surgeon would have did what they did for me. Right? See, life has a way of knocking us down. Oops, my slides. When we least expect it to. Oh, life has a way of knocking us down when we least expect it to, right? And here's what I know, that no matter what life throws at you, you must always be ready to face unforeseen challenges with a positive and strong attitude. Okay? Because when you're going through adversity, we always can't find the good in it, because you're in it. It's hard to find the good in it, but those are the moments when you must dig deep. You must understand that it was given to you because you can't handle it. Right? Yes? Okay? And number two is, life's not meant to be easy. Whoever said it was? Right? It's not meant to be easy. And most of you sitting in this audience today have probably experienced some level of adversity, where it's literally knocked the breath out of you. But I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter how many times you have to go through adversity. What matters is how you embrace it, because it becomes a part of you, and how you use it to not only create change in your life, but in the lives of others. Okay? And the last one is, there is always a way. Because when you go through adversity, it is so hard. Trust me, I've been there way too many times that I won't even count. It is so hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because you're like in this bubble, right? But I want you in those moments to remember all the past adversities that God has seen you through. Because it probably wasn't the first time. And so I want you to have that mentality that this too shall pass. Right? And this leads me to our last truth, you guys. Life. Sorry, the slides are a little messed up, but I'll tell you guys. It's life is what you make of it. Life is what you make of it. You guys, after my second year teaching, when I told you I resigned from the layoff, okay, I was brought back the third year and laid off again. Then I was brought back a fourth year to teach. Now I'm at a different school, teaching kindergarten, and I was laid off again. That's 4 layoffs within a 4-year period, enough to make most people probably lose their minds, right? But because I had such a love for education, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave classroom teaching. I'm done. And by this time, you guys, I have my master's degree and 2 teaching credentials, okay? I have a master's in educational counseling, a PPS personal services credential, and then also have a multiple subjects credential. So I went through all that schooling only to be laid off for 4 years in a row. And I was like, okay, what can I do? I ended up taking a job as a director of education services, in other words, education reporter for the Beverly Hills Courier newspaper. I built the education section from the ground up, and then I was laid off a year later. 5 layoffs. So I told myself, you know what, I'm done. One promise I made to myself, I would never work for anybody ever again. So I started my company, Tutors for Tots, Tweens and Teens LLC. I own a brick and mortar education company in Long Beach, California. We provide in-home and on-site tutoring services for students K-12. I also developed my first curriculum in 2014, Skill High program, which is a goal-setting curriculum that prepares students for life after high school. We've been funded and implemented for the last 5 years. Okay? And so during this time, I started to kind of figure out my purpose. I was like, wait a minute, I love being an entrepreneur, and it took time to get to where I'm at today, but during that time, I realized that I loved creating content. Really good at video content, really great at like educating, and that's why I said that I'm here to inform you guys and educate, because that's really what I'm doing. I'm just educating on a larger scale. No longer in the classroom, but just on a larger scale, right? And so, unfortunately, during that time, you guys, my tumors grew back. And I decided that I wasn't going to allow it to keep me down. what I did was I threw myself in my work, but I also changed a lot of things in my life, okay? Number one, I became vegan. I've been vegan now for 10 years, so shout out to the vegan meal. Another thing that we have in common, oh my goodness. So I became vegan, and then also, you guys, one of the most important things is that I included something in my life called TAG. It stands for Time Alone with God. So every morning when I wake up in the morning, and I try very hard before I get on social media, because we know how social media can get you, but that's my job, right? Social media, that's how I work. But I try to do morning prayer. I do my devotional every morning, and I meditate every morning before I do anything else, and then I work out. So I think changing my health really, really, really helped, okay? Acupuncture, all of that. And so during that time, even though they grew back, I was able to kind of maintain it, if that makes sense. But unfortunately, in October of 2017, maybe 9 months ago, I started to receive symptoms also well. So I went to my doctor, and he was like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to have surgery. And at that point, I had just published my curriculum. I was getting interviews with school districts and principals, and I'm a go-getter. Like, I have a high, extremely high, almost scary tolerance for pain. I just keep pushing through. And my surgeon was like, you're gonna have to have surgery. And I was like, nah. He said, contact my friend, he's a robotic surgeon, he's one of the best in the countries, and I was still in denial. This was like probably a Wednesday. By the weekend, I was in the ER. And so that Monday morning, I was like, great, I have no choice. So I contacted this robotic surgeon. He actually lives in Atlanta. He said, I'm in town tomorrow, come visit me. So I went to his office in Newport Beach, and he did my exams. He's like, oh yeah, you're gonna need surgery like today. He said, but unfortunately, I'm going to China tomorrow for a seminar, and I'm going to be gone for 5 days. So contact my secretary, try to get on the surgery list, and we'll see what we can do. And I remember my mom calling me, and she was just like, you're so calm. Like, I'm usually a frantic person. I always just, like freaking out. But I remember, God got me. Like, I told him I would trust in everything. So I'm not gonna make this mistake that I made the first time around. That's for sure, right? And so, luckily, and by the grace of God, his secretary called me not 48 hours later and was like, okay, we got a place for you. Because he only could do 2 to 3 surgeries a day, and he was already booked. And so I had my surgery the end of October of 2017, and when I had my ultrasound, they saw 3 tumors, okay? When they told me, when I went into surgery, they said it was gonna be 2.5 hours, and it ended up being 4.5 hours. And I remember waking up from surgery, and the first thing my friend says to me, she's like, Dupé, guess how many tumors they removed? And I freaked out, and I think I passed out. Because I was like, who says that when you wake up from anesthesia, right? Like, come on, can I get a hello? Or how are you feeling first? And so she ended up telling me that they removed 22 tumors. 22. You guys, 39. 39 is the number of tumors that's been removed from my body in the last 10 years. And I wear that number on my wrist as a constant reminder that when life gets tough, I can and I will fight through it. See, I refuse to go through life scared to do anything, right? I refuse to go through life getting irritated or mad about the small things, right? I lose a business deal, okay. An employee quits, okay. Because this is a constant reminder that I've already hit rock bottom, right? Anything else from here is up. You get what I'm saying? And so I ask you, my number is 39, but what's yours? And I ask you that question because each and every one of us has a special number, whether it's an anniversary, a day and time, okay, a special number that has literally helped shift us into the person that we are, that transformational moment. So it could be the day you found out you were cancer-free, the day you married your husband or got divorced, whatever that number is, embrace it because it's helped shape you into the person that you are today. Not yesterday, but today. I want to end today's talk with a short story. This is actually a true story, and I came across this story online, and it really resonated with me. And the story is of a 40-year-old man who was told that he had 1 year to live. Okay? He was told that he had 1 year to live, and this 40-year-old man was so distraught because he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. But he was more distraught over the fact that he was going to leave his wife with nothing because this man was broke. So this man started to strategize, and he came up with the idea that he was going to live his last few days as a novelist, which was a lifelong dream of his. And so this man started to write, and by the year's end, he ended up writing 5.5 books. However, this man did not die. You see, his cancer went into remission and it ended up disappearing altogether. And during his lifetime, he ended up writing 70 books. This is a true story, you guys. And you're probably wondering, well, how is this even possible? How did he survive? I truly believe that prior to cancer, this man was not living his life to his fullest, right? He was not living within his purpose. And it took a death sentence of cancer to really wake him up. Now he had the willpower, determination, and fight to live, and guess what? The universe granted his wish. See, some of you guys sitting here today, you have yet to step into your purpose. You're still pondering over if you should start, how you should start, why you should start, instead of just starting. Learn from me. If there's anything that you take away from this talk is, do not wait until you're faced with death or a life-threatening situation before you realize that you can do anything you put your mind to. Stop cruising through life, ladies and gentlemen, and start being intentional with where you want to go and how you plan on getting there. Thank you guys so much for your time. I also want to say, you guys, I have these bracelets. One of them says embrace. I haven't been at my booth yet because I wanted to talk about it. My dad actually helped me make these bracelets, which is kind of cute. Can you picture my 74-year-old dad helping me make bracelets? But he literally helped me make 50 bracelets, you guys. And they say embrace on them because my keynote was titled Embrace Challenges, Experience Change. So I hope that each and every one of you guys will go purchase one of these bracelets. I usually sell them for $25. They're on sale today for $20. But just a reminder that when you're going through life, that you can embrace your challenges, okay, in order to experience change. Thank you again.